hello, everyone. On behalf of the SET team organizing this tech festival today. And yeah, thank you for being here with us. Yeah, I hope you're enjoying the day so far. My name is Alex Kripko. A little bit different. I'm on my coworker's computer. I'm a senior expert on the SET team. And I'm just here to give a little introduction to the partnership we have with the GIZ. So the GIZ and Dana, the German Energy Agency, which I also represent, have been working together for a very long time, specifically with the bilateral energy partnerships. And today we have a really amazing panel of the top experts from the Latin American region to talk to you about the energy space and the innovation in energy space here. Just a little housekeeping. Please, if you have questions, write it in the chat. Otherwise, I think at the end, our moderator will open it up so you can also ask for to share your audio and video. With that, I would love to introduce our moderator for today. So Francisco Contreras del Valle, and he's from the German Mexican Energy Partnership. From the GIZ. So I'll kick it off here to you, Francisco. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alex, for the welcoming remarks. I'm quite excited to be here. I think we all are excited to be here because Latin America is the fastest growing market, not only in the region but in the world. And we've seen great figures. We've seen great data about what is happening in Latin America, and I think that explains a lot also about this particular session, about the relevance of this particular session. Just to keep it in mind, my name is Francisco Contreras. As Alex mentioned, I'm an advisor for the GIZ here in Mexico, the German cooperation in Mexico. And what are we going to talk about today? Because today we have the experts. When I say the, is because we have the experts, the people who know most about what is going on here in Latin America. And today we're going to talk about how developing countries and emerging economies here in Latin America, focusing obviously on Brazil, on Mexico, and Chile, and also the view of another region in America, talking specifically about the US. We're going to have an open discussion, and we're going to be talking about the developments in the energy and the startup ecosystem, while also exploring the opportunities available for startups within the region as well as abroad. So without further ado, I would like to welcome my colleagues, Rosario Casas. She's co-founder and CEO of XR Americas. I would like to welcome as well PhD Rafael Lorenzo. He's the National Head of Innovation and Entrepreneurship Ecosystem at Monterrey Tecnológico de Monterrey. I would like to welcome also Pamela Valdivia, the Executive Director of the State of Bavaria South American Office for Economic Development, and Rainer Sauer, he's Business Development of Prosumir in Brazil. So welcome, everyone. And to begin with this particular session, I would like to give you a couple of minutes each to give us a brief background on what you do and perhaps a welcoming remark to this particular session. And I would like to start with Rosario. So Rosario, welcome.
Thank you. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm Rosario. I started my professional life dreaming to be the president of Colombia, my native country. And I underline that because, of course, my dream at that moment was to impact the way people live, the way people or the economy grows, and the way education impacts the lives of different people. It was in my country when I started. I was in the public sector for many years, but then I realized the importance of private sector and job generation, direct job generation. And then I jumped into the entrepreneurial life. I started landing foreign direct investment into Latin America through Colombia. And one day, back in 2013, a Silicon Valley company doing big data and artificial intelligence, very early moments for the technology, they acquired a small Colombian company, and they contracted my company to the merging process. And then I discovered what exponential technologies can accomplish. in terms of scaling solutions. And well, I did the merging process. They offered me to be the global CEO, and that was really my jumping moment into the technology world. I moved. I was a CEO I was the CEO replacing a founder, and I touched that point because in the ecosystem of entrepreneurship, those moments are what makes the difference. And after that work, I moved to New York because of my husband's work, a huge sacrifice. And then I started to explore the world of immersive realities. At that time, 360 video, then virtual reality, then augmented reality, and now we have XR Americas building software connections, APIs, between the real world of training and the immersive contents, what is called the metaverse. And that's basically what I do in my daily life. I also have with my husband an incubator for small business owners on the digital transformation of their businesses for non-tech businesses. That's basically my daily life.
Great, Rosario. Thank you so much for your introduction. I would like to ask now Rainer to go ahead and introduce himself and work that he does.
Thanks. Hello, everyone. First of all, it's a big pleasure to be here talking with so much important people about so much important topics, right? And I am a young man that started my walk in this way, facing these challenges regarding innovation since 2018. I entered in a innovation center at my university, and started to learn a lot of this word about methodologies to use to develop new technologies from NASA. And I like to see how we can use these methodologies to develop technologies to contribute to circular economy, right? So this is my mission nowadays. It's a point that moves me a lot. And during these challenges, I found a big challenge that was the challenge that Prosumir was facing. So nowadays I work as head of sales for Prosumir. And our solution is it's a steam turbine, okay, that replaces the pressure reducing valves in industries that use steam. So this equipment, the pressure reducing valves, normally cause thermal waste. So we replace this equipment for these turbines to generate energy and saving costs and helping the planet. So the idea of our company is this. And our CEO Julio, unfortunately, could not have been here today because he's leading with he's installing one of our turbines, so he's doing the hard job. That's important to mature our product. How he has a lot of knowledge. He needs to be many times in the front line doing the adjustment and adjusting our product. So despite he's not here, I'm happy to be here and to be able to share my vision and the Prosumir vision about scenarios regarding innovation here in Brazil.
Thank you so much, Rainer, on your welcoming remarks. And I would like to go to Pamela, please.
Hi, Francisco. Hi, everyone. I'm very honored to be today here and to be part of this panel with this great expert. So this is the first thing I would like to say. Regarding my person, maybe a little bit before I start talking about my office, I'm passionate regarding innovation. I'm passionate regarding solving challenges Latin America has in order to provide a better place for the people in Latin America. So we try to work really, and from my side, I try to work on projects. They always have not only an economic impact, but also an environmental and social impact. Having said that, I am the executive director of the State of Bavaria Office for South America, and I have the great chance to put all what I have said in practice. We started in 2013 working with the challenges the industries in Latin America had in order to solve their problems. Of course, the main fields of challenges are in the field of energy and also in the field of water, and some people even say water is energy. So it is related. And then we started to help those companies in order to solve the problems and the challenges with innovation, creating new solutions that not exist at this time. And by doing so, we started to find that startups had a great potential to collaborate with industry, that they could innovate much faster, that they could innovate much cheaper, that they are much more flexible. So without knowing and without willing, we started to work with the innovation ecosystem and with the startup ecosystem in Latin America, especially of Argentina, Chile, Peru, and Colombia, and also, of course, in Germany. And that's why we, without knowing, without willing, we are working today with startups in the field of energy in order to solve the challenges not only Latin America has, but the world. So it's great to be here and to share all my experience with you, Francisco, with Rainas, Rosario, and with Rafael. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, Pamela. Heck of an introduction. I think we've seen and we've heard great things from all our panelists. And I would like to turn now to PhD Rafael Lorenzo, who is also joining us from Mexico. Rafael, the microphone is yours.
Thank you, Francisco. It's a pleasure to be here in the SETTech Festival and share with you. And I'm really happy. I'm the head of the Entrepreneurship Network here at Monterrey in the Entrepreneurship Institute, basically running all the incubation, acceleration, and mentorship programs. And also, we also have one of the largest entrepreneurship festivals in Latin America, which is called Inc. Monterrey, which more or less have 10,000 attendees every year. So it's coming this November. So I take this opportunity to share with you. And also, I've been involved in the Mexican ecosystem for the last 10 years now, and it's something I want to talk about. And I've seen since the embryonic phase, when there were only very few VC firms, only 3 or 4 of them, and then we were trying to generate a second generation of entrepreneurs. So I've been in this area for the last 10 years. In the tech, I've also been involved in many projects with industry, with technology and strategy and competitiveness, and also in the SME, small and medium-sized enterprises sector. I work for a long time with entrepreneurs, small business owners, and many other CEOs in different industrial sectors. So I think that to promote and help and support entrepreneurs, enterprises is key, crucial for not only the energy, but for the economy in Latin America. So very glad to be here with you.
Thank you so much, Rafael, for your introduction. And I would like to move on with the actual discussion on the topics of this panel. And I would like to place a first question, and this one is addressed to you, Rafael, and obviously I'm gonna open the microphone to my other colleagues so we can also get their glimpse and their insights on the topic. But Rafael, if someone asked you, given all the information that has been flowing lately, because we have, as we mentioned before, we have articles and papers regarding the boom of startups and entrepreneurs in Latin America, how venture capital is flowing in the region. With all of this information, Rafael, what can you tell us about the current status of the Latin American startup ecosystem? Is it growing? Is it not growing? Is it a great opportunity to place your money, to place your bets? What are the hot topics in the region? What can you tell us?
Yeah, I would say that it's one of the most interesting times to be here in Latin America for a startup ecosystem. And as we were just discussing earlier before entering to the live panel, that there's some recent articles from the Financial Times and the Economies saying that they talk about the Latin America as a next tech frontier, and talking specifically about the amount of investment has been done in the last year, especially in this year of the last year, and also in the economy saying that talking about the Mexican startup bonanza, and they explain that and the data is that we have raised only this year, and I know there is a question about the pandemic, but it's $3 billion US dollars in investments. And just to take that in perspective, is this amount of investment it's the same amount of the 9 years of the previous 9 years combined. So if we sum up all the previous 9 years, it's the same amount. So definitely we can say that we are in a growing stage, having passed from the embryonic and emerging state to a growing state. So, but I would like to put some context on this, and then to start and see what the real opportunities are. Of course, we have seen some unicorns already in LATAM. Just in the last year, we have seen 5 in Mexico. Of course, we still have the challenge of the exits, but when we have the case of Contreras for sure. But I think that if we put this in context, 9 years ago, there was none of this. BC was embryonic at best, and a new generation of different programs, incubation or acceleration or investments were starting to develop, from the previous effort by many actors, especially the government in our countries, to support small and medium-sized enterprises. So we have been developing this ecosystem and the infrastructure that it comes within these support programs, from the exploration and in community building. I think community building has been a key part of this development. The incubation of ideas and technologies. Of course, we are taking advantage of digital technologies, and the last year and a half, when everyone went to digital, we have seen an acceleration of many in education, of course, but also in e-commerce and many other sectors where adoption has been growing in recent years a lot. And also the acceleration of early stage startups. So from this first stage, we have the first generation of entrepreneurs. Many of them fail in their startups fail in many ways, but some of the unicorns we're talking about started 5 or 10 years ago. So many of them were part of this new breed. And later on, we saw the arrival of other players. For instance, the more communities, the support of companies like Google, and supporting communities, tech communities, other communities around Mexico and in Latin America, and also incubation and acceleration programs, such as 500 startups that actually started as a Mexican VC in Mexico, Mass Challenge, for instance, in Boston, or GIZ from Europe. So we saw the arrival of these new players, and the development and growth of the VC industry in Mexico that in the previous years and the previous federal government in Mexico supported in a very strong way. Then nowadays we can see that many of our entrepreneurs, not only Mexican but in Latin America, are going to Y Combinator, which we know is one of the most important accelerator in the world. So I think now lately we have seen all these big investment firms like SoftBank and even the newcomers that are corporations. I know that is a question about corporations, but corporations has been involved in many interesting ways, not only in the fintech, but in many other sectors as well. So I think that now the ecosystem is in this growing stage. We have, even though the pandemic, and even though perhaps some less support from government programs, the ecosystem in Mexico is in a bonanza for sure, and in Latin America as well. We are not talking anymore about the Mexican ecosystem or the Chilean ecosystem or the Colombian ecosystem. I would say that we're talking about the Latin American ecosystem, and because the players are playing all around Latin America. Obviously, also with a global vision, to expand to other regions. So I would say that we have seen this. We have seen investments from not only like investors like SoftBank, but many other business angels and VC firms investing in Latin American startups. So I think it's a great time, and we need to capitalize on this and take all the learnings. And we'll talk more about this. But how can we help support and grow energy startups? And I would say in climate, clean tech, sustainable startups in our region. So
great. Thank you, Rafael. And I want to retake something that you mentioned, and perhaps posing a question to Rosario to get her insights on this one. You were talking about community building, and I think the development of this great ecosystem is not only by chance. It responds to a lot of following up activities, a lot of community building activities, in the startup ecosystem, to learn from each other, to learn about the solutions that startups are proposing, that entrepreneurs are proposing. And with this in mind, I would like to ask Rosario, from your perspective, because we know you're based in New York, from your perspective, what are the main drivers of this growth, of this bonanza that Rafael just reflected on?
Well, thank you. No, I can see many factors, and I think also the internal promotion from country to country. I will mention that Colombia, Chile, Argentina, Mexico, Brazil were creating and were investing in the last years in topics like training, STEM, like making or building easier ways to start a business. And I really think that was like the first layer of this component. The second one is the market, for sure. The market has a huge need for more developers, for more, let's say, for example, in the cybersecurity environment that is very close to the energy industry. In the US, there is a need of around 3 million people trained with the skills, the technical skills. Then there is a space for startups. And for sure, I will add that, and I really believe in the creation of bridge and connections between ecosystems. And I really think that Latin American or US Hispanics, US Latin American people is around is arriving to be 25% of the population in the US, with an economic power of around, equivalent to the 8th economy of the world by GDP. It means there is people who, instead of just sending remittances to their countries, is interested in creating connections with their countries, with the ecosystem, the entrepreneurial ecosystem of their countries. And I really think that is moving the needle in some way. Because of course, when you start seeing people like, and let me say 2 or 3 names, that Alexander Torrenegra, building companies in San Francisco, in Silicon Valley, and starting to contract teams in Colombia, in Brazil, in Argentina, in a remote way, you can really start not only showing the possibilities to the Latin American people, but also you are opening their minds to see what they can build, to see that they already have ways to create. And people like him was really investing and moving the head of investors in a way that they were moving from traditional investments in Latin America to technology and startups. Also, I really think that people like Lolita Taub, Mexican, building as a VC, she is starting to build the let's say the information for US people who wants to invest in Latin America, but they don't know what really happens in Latin America. It's like a gap of knowledge. The perception and the reality are not necessarily the same. And the last thing is people like, I'm a big fan of Formula E, and of course Luca Di Grassi for me is one of those references, because it's not only in the racing per se, but he's using that stage to start building and increasing the awareness around the possibilities that the ecosystem of energy and energy transition can bring to a country like Brazil. He is starting companies, investing in companies, and when you are creating this type of conversations, and this is something that I love to do, I keep my accent very strong, because I think that every time I'm at a new table, when there is no other Latino, and they hear my accent, they ask about, well, what's happening in Latin America? Where are you from? And that gives me an excuse to start opening those doors. Then I'm a South by Southwest advisory board member for the pitch. And since 3 years and something that I am participating in it, I'm obsessed with having more companies from Latin America. But the only way to do it is just having the possibility to communicate in both environments, in both ecosystems, and being the creator of those pipelines between the places and the environments. And I really think that that's starting to happen, or, well, it started some years ago, as Rafael was mentioning in the very good context that he gave. But of course, is keeping growing. Having companies from Latin America participating in Y Combinator or in ERA in New York City, or SoftBank inviting companies from Latin America to open their operations in Miami. That's creating those bridges, and I really think that's the way to connect the economies, because without the market, the investment will not bring the exits.
Great. And we'll get there. We'll get to the corporate role of big companies, of big banks and big venture capitals, and into what is happening in Latin America. But I think you mentioned something really, really interesting, Rosario, which is, you posed a question and I just mentioned it. What is happening in Latin America? And that is what we are trying to address today in this particular session. What is happening in Latin America with startups and entrepreneurs working with energy related topics, obviously trying to foster the energy transition, obviously trying to find solutions to problems related to climate change, related to energy efficiency. And with this in mind, I would like to turn now the microphone to Pamela, and perhaps Rainer. The question could be for both of you. In your perspective, and you get the first one to raise the hand gets the first answer. When we're talking about these topics, particular topics, which is energy, startups, entrepreneurs in Latin America, which technology, which energy resource has been, is nowadays, and could be available in the next few years in each country? What are your insights in the development of technology, in the development of new ways to use renewable energy in Latin America? And obviously, Pamela, if you can also explain a little bit more about the exchange that you have between the state of Bavaria and countries in Latin America, that would be great. And then we can pose the same exact question to Rainer.
Well, Rainer, if I may. Okay, so thank you for the question, Francisco. It was really interesting to listen to Rosario and Rafael. I got really inspired, and I will practice my Latin accent, Rosario, because I always try to speak better English, but of course now I will do it the other way around. So maybe I would like to put another topic on the table, which I think is very important to the discussion. That is, we should differentiate between startups that address B2C clients, like a delivery, a service, or a commercial platform, with startups that solve or have a technology for industry. So we have B2B startups and B2C startups. And I think this is important because in the energy sector, we are talking really about, I think at the beginning, because we need to improve the industry, we're talking about industry startups. That means startups that have developed a technological solution in the field of energy in order to support industry in the energy transition, for example. So why is this important? Because they behave different. They have other life cycles. They, for example, if they are B2B startups, they have to develop deep technology. Okay, so their investment cycles are also different. You have to, maybe the amounts are not that high, which you see in the unicorns we've seen in Latin America so far, but they have to be repeated because the technology must get mature and must advance, and you have to get researching, etc. So there are several investment rounds, for example. That's the difference. They also have different business models. So being a partner of industry means that the industry can, of course, be an investor for the technology of the startup, but it is also a partner. It is a specialized demand. Without demand, and I think Rafael said it at the beginning, without the demand, without the market, we won't have any startups. So that's the first differentiation I would like to make. Then regarding because the introduction was great, done by Rosario and Rafael, I just wanted to tell you at the beginning, several years ago, when we started working with the innovation ecosystems in Latin America, they were pretty similar at that time. You could find all the stakeholders there, like the public actors, regional and national governments. You can find the corporates, the universities, the research centers, of course the entrepreneurs, and of course the specialized risk capital. Very weak at the beginning, getting better, and of course it has been, and that's what was Rafael talking about, that we have noticed that there are coming great and big venture capitals from the United States. We are seeing that they are also coming from Asia, which is very interesting, which is a new spin, I have to say. But if we consider, for example, the whole innovation process, because I try always to talk about startup ecosystem and innovation, because I think that's where the great potential of startups are. So if we consider the innovation process, starting from an idea, going to a successful implementation, well, governments tend to be more at the beginning of that process, like funding ideas, funding and fostering the entrepreneurial ecosystem, trying to strengthen the entrepreneurial culture. But when we talk about scaling, and that's the important point in this case, when we talk about energy startups, then so far what I have seen, government is weaker or are thinking just right now about scaling funds, for example. So that's what we see from a B2B point of view, okay? What we have noticed as well in the last years, entrepreneurs are becoming increasingly more technology-based. So they're getting much more deep tech, which is very interesting to see. So you have at the beginning, maybe we were talking about incremental innovation, like improving something that already existed. But now we're seeing startups that are creating disruptive innovation. That's interesting. So we have seen technological advancement also in Latin America, and that is something we do in our office. We present the opportunities in Latin America from a technological point of view, okay? Because of course they are great raw material providers. They have great other products they are good selling, like I don't know, fruits or wine. But we at our office focus on technological development, and that has been our main differentiation point, because we present Latin America as a technological partner to Germany. So, and that's a huge turning point, I have to say. Regarding the beginning of your question, where are the potentials in the field of energy in Latin America? Well, Latin America has a great or huge potential in renewables. So there are some countries who have been doing a great job harnessing these renewable energies, like Chile, for example. And renewables play already a very important role here in the energy matrix, but there's still potential to develop solutions, for example, in the field of biomass, for the heating process, for district heating. We have a great potential for waste to energy, all the chain from creating value out of waste, which is a huge challenge, and I think we share with a lot of Latin American countries. So when we talk only about photovoltaics, of course, which has been like I don't know, the bestseller of the renewables here in Chile, well, the Ministry of Energy expects that to have an installed capacity of more than 20,000 megawatts in 2050. So we have to increase the efficiency of solar panels. Okay, so because we won't reach that goal without that. And then we have another turning point about what we do with the solar panels we won't use anymore. We have to recycle them. How do we reuse them, etc. Wind and waves are a huge opportunity. I don't want to go into deep because I don't want to. I would like to give Rainer also the possibility, but let me say the last thing about the potential in the energy field, and that's, I think, the new bestseller in Latin America, which is green hydrogen. So this is hydrogen produced from renewables, which is cheap, which is clean, and which Latin America could be a worldwide provider for.
Great, thank you, Pamela, on this one, and perhaps a little infomercial regarding green hydrogen. The German-Mexican Energy Partnership just launched the first study of its kind, the potential of green hydrogen for the Mexican economy. So if you want to download it, if you want to take a look at it, just go energypartnership.mx and you can download this study. And you mentioned it as the great hype today, green hydrogen. And how can Latin America also be a platform to boost the use of this energy vector, which is green hydrogen? But well, without further ado, I would like to turn the microphone over to Rainer. And Rainer, well, just to remember, the question is, from your perspective, and obviously considering all the growth in the region, in the LATAM region, which are the tech and energy resources that have been, are, and will be available in each of these countries?
Interesting. Well, it's interesting to notice that, for example, here in Brazil, this year was marked by the scarcity of the rain in large part of our country. So this situation generated a difficulty in maintaining our country energy production, right? Because we are still very dependent in hydroelectric plants. So this brings us this situation that in the past and nowadays, in Brazil country, we are still dependent in this fount of energy, in source of energy. And unfortunately, we already lived a situation like this in the beginning of the millennium. This millennium, in 2001, we had already a blackout in the same situation because there was a scarcity. There was a scarcity of rain. So unfortunately, this brings us a bad feeling because the time passed and we are still passing through the same problems. Right, but nowadays we are starting to see public policies to diversify this metrics generation. Right, so Brazil, it's a large company with everybody knows that we have a lot of natural resources. And we could be helping the world to have energy instead of depending of Argentina or Uruguay, for example, nowadays. So this is something that's really important to us to notice this situation. And of course, we intend to produce energy with renewable energy, right? Nowadays, our energy metrics it's not very strong regarding the energy solar energy and wind energy. So we are starting to have some programs that grants and subsidy investment to these initiatives in Brazil. And regarding in my scenario, working with Prosumir, we work with energy efficiency. We notice that when we talk with companies, they want to hear a set of solutions regarding energy efficiency. If we just show to them just one solution, normally they don't see so much value because the results of the solution sometimes don't inspire them to just do this solution. They want a set of solutions to contribute and get more results, financial and energy results in general.
Great, thank you, Rainer. I think your answer directly relates to something that Pamela was mentioning about this disruptive innovation, but from a technological perspective, because the resources are out there, but we don't have the means to exploit them. We don't have the means to take advantage of our privileged situation as Latin America, when we have the best solar radiation indexes, we have a lot of wind currents. So what can we do? How can we foster this disruptive innovation from the technological perspective to take advantage of this, as I mentioned, privileged situation? And before we move on with the next question of this panel, I want to remind our audience that you can pose your questions in the chat on this platform. You can write all the questions that you have, and we'll have a spur 10 minutes at the end, which will be happening in 10 minutes, curiously enough. But we will have 10 minutes to address your questions. So considering what we have discussed so far, which is, I think, enough to write a complete dissertation on the topic, because there's a lot of information, a lot of topics that are relevant for the developing of the Latin American startup ecosystem, and considering as well this new definition, which I appreciate, Pamela, you bringing to the table the difference between traditional startups and startups that work to foster innovation, business to industry, if I got it correctly. If not, we can discuss it also in a few minutes. I want to go back to Rafael. And Rafael, I want to ask you a question regarding obviously the main challenges and opportunities in the Latin American ecosystem for this kind of startups that we just reflected on. But I also want to intertwine this question with how has the pandemic hit this opportunities and these challenges? So the microphone is yours, Rafael.
Yeah, I think that, and I can talk about what our own experience, and for us represented an opportunity. To be honest, I mean, of course, the fact that we were virtual allow us to reach to more in different places or in a different way that normally we do in having our programs in person, in our campuses or so on. So I want to give you an example. For instance, we have a challenge which is sponsored by Heineken Mexico, which is called the Heineken Green Challenge, in which we have been running this for we are now in the 4th year, and our first year was about CO2 mitigation. The second year was about water. Last year was about circular economy, and this year is about sustainable agriculture. So we have reached some 3,000 innovators, students, entrepreneurs in the country, and we have interacted more deeply with some 550, and then we take 20 of them to an acceleration program. An acceleration program. The first places receive a grant from this challenge, so they have some funds, to apply to different challenges they have in their initiatives. But the last 2 years we have run this in virtually, and then we have been able to reach more resources, mentors, experts, and even entrepreneurs working far away, in regions or in parts of the country, not necessarily in the cities, and then they can be there in the acceleration and follow the acceleration program. So we have a very good resource about that. So there is an opportunity there. So I think that we can concentrate or aggregate more talent, in virtual or hybrid kind of programs. For sure, investment has been flowing. Even investors and accelerators like 500 and others are changing also their approach because they have learned a lot. We have learned a lot about about how to be more effective with this in these circumstances. And then and you can talk to VCs or investors, and they see that they see more potential deals than before the pandemic. So I think there's a huge opportunity, and I think our challenge is how can we, once we can return to some more in-person events and so on, how can we accelerate this in order to reach to more entrepreneurs and so on. Of course, there is something that was hit hard. I think so. It was the communities. Even though there have been many events about virtual community events, it's not the same like being in a meetup in person, meeting another colleagues or peers, and so on. And I'm saying that because I have just had some meetings here in Mexico City, and it's a different. So I think that, but generally, I would say that with the pandemic shows an opportunity to innovate or models of investment or support entrepreneurs, even for entrepreneurs to learn and get access to resources. I think it's very important.
No, definitely. And I do believe the pandemic had obviously two effects. One, I wonder if all the unicorns that arise this year would have arose if the pandemic hadn't hit, because it kind of the pieces came together to build this puzzle, and then we had this boom in financial services, digital financial services, digital solutions. So if the pandemic hadn't hit, would we have the same level of development in the startup ecosystem? I think that's also a great question, and perhaps a good question to pose, Rafael.
Yeah, and I think that it's an opportunity you can see, and even in simple things like people moving to other places. We have seen all this not only in entrepreneurs, but we have seen also startups being created 100% remote. Even without meeting them in person, that they are or hiring people. So I think, and now it's the access to resources, to talent, to funding. I think there's a mentors. It's a great opportunity for the ecosystem in general, but for Latin American, and I will add the Latin part of the United States. I think it's a great opportunity there.
Yes, definitely. And I would like to place a similar question, Pamela, because obviously you have a lot of experience when exchanging with also European institutions, European organizations, and when talking about this startups, this small businesses that are trying to reach the industry, reach this big corporates. What are their main challenges as well? During pandemic and before the pandemic, what are your thoughts on the challenges that these businesses face, and also the opportunities that they have in the Latin American ecosystem?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question, Francisco. I would like to reflect a little bit on what Rafael said. And I think I also share the opinion that the pandemic has also been a great opportunity in order to bring together not only, of course, the Latin American with the American ecosystems together, but also with the European ecosystem. So we are like, there are no barriers. So like innovation without barriers, it's possible right now. So we, for example, we work with 4 countries: Argentina, Chile, Peru, and Colombia. As I said before, we work with challenges of industry. We're engaged with the innovation ecosystems, with the startup ecosystem, and that we can do now via online with all them together. So we are identifying which resources are missing regarding an innovation project, for example, from the startup side, from the industry side, etc., and we can match this missing resource with somebody who has it, not only in the other Latin American countries, but also in Germany. So, and I'm not talking only about financing, because financing is it's important, I have to say it, especially in the energy sector. I have to say it, I must admit it, but there are other resources which are pretty much also important, as Rafael said. So we can match expertise, especially in energy. This is very important. So what kind of expertise do you need as a startup in order to develop a special solution in the energy field? We can match with missing equipment. or infrastructure for pilots, for testing. We can give access to supply chains, contacts with customers, information about markets, about regulations, etc. So there are a lot of resources as an innovation ecosystem can share within the ecosystem between the stakeholders. But now, due to the pandemic and due to digitalization or digital transformation, as you would want to, you can bring partners together that are far away from each other. So, and that's a huge turning point and a great opportunity not only for Latin America, but also for Europe. Because Europe are facing, you have read it maybe in Der Spiegel, I have to say, you read The Economist, I did read Der Spiegel. So there has been an emergency or a crisis. The energy prices are like climbing into the mountains. So there are some countries, I don't want to name them, they are facing like bankruptcy from the energy providers, etc. So there is also a challenge there. And we can match innovation capacities of different continents thanks to this digital world. And I think that's great. So coming back to your question, working with industry, of course, it isn't that easy. It has never been easy to work with great big corporates, for example. But the interesting thing, there's a turning point there also in Latin America. Corporates are willing to work with startups because they are facing, or they are trying to make they call it open innovation systems, which is very attractive. And with the open innovation systems, they pose a challenge, like Rafael said, a challenge that could be solved with the help of an innovative solution from a startup. And this is something very attractive also for a company, because a company can get access, as I said, to great innovations in a very fast and cheap way. But it is also something that the ecosystem see as a very positive thing to do. So it is getting easier to work with corporates. It has always been difficult. Okay, I won't tell you lies, but it is becoming easier due to this open innovation approaches of the corporates, and not only of international corporates present in Latin America, but also Latin American corporates itself. So we can see like mining companies in Chile and Peru posting their challenges and trying to get solutions from startups from their own ecosystem in Peru and Chile, or from other Latin American ecosystems, or even thinking about other innovation ecosystems worldwide, like in Germany. So I think the relationship or the opportunity is improving there. So I'm sorry for all the noise.
Don't worry. There's no problem. And I think I can relate to this particular phenomena, if you want to put a name on it, because it's something that happened with the financial ecosystem. You know, the big players didn't realize that, something is happening with those non-traditional actors, and I have to engage with them. I have to work with them. Obviously, a lot happened. You know, many of the startups were purchased by these big groups and incorporated into their business models. But then we had the big players, for example, we're talking about Brazil, Nubank, for example. You have Albo in Mexico. You have a lot of examples of the financial sector that they became this challengers, actual challengers to the traditional banks and to the traditional financial services structure. I have to move on because unfortunately we have 7 minutes, and I would like to pose a couple of questions, one addressed to Rosario and the second one addressed to Rainer. And my apologies, because I'm going to have to ask you to be quite concrete and quite brief on your response, so we can open the platform to questions. And Rosario, I think we've discussed a lot of things that are truly interesting in terms of what the opportunities are, how can Latin America be or become this platform of knowledge, this beacon of innovation, of startups. But what happens when we talk about the regulation challenges, when we talk about regulation opportunities for Latin American startups that want to go abroad? And we were talking about the situation that when you have businesses and startups that go to the US and they want to operate in the US, or perhaps when they go to Europe and they want to operate in Europe, but also the other way around, when international investors want to come to Mexico, to Chile, to Argentina, to Brazil, and say, hey, here's my money, I want to invest. What are this regulation challenges and opportunities? And before you answer, I want to pose a question to Rainer. Rainer, just to for you to keep it in mind when your turn comes. In your experience, we were talking about how to relate businesses and corporates. How do the different ecosystems, Rainer, connect in terms of business opportunities for startups and corporates alike, obviously? And when I say different ecosystems, I mean the Brazilian ecosystem, the Mexican ecosystem, the Chilean ecosystem, the Argentinian ecosystem. How can we connect them? Because in the end, we're all in the same region, and we have many resemblances or many alliances more than differences. So that's going to be the two questions. And Rosario, please go ahead.
Well, I think there are many things, but I will concentrate my answer in three topics. The first one, making the environment to build businesses easier, simpler, more clear. I mean, when I start a business in New York, I know where to start, how to raise funds, how to receive the funds, the contracts, etc., etc. In Latin America, we have those spaces that are not necessarily that easy. Then for sure, we are not, I mean, when the investor understands the market, they can see the opportunity. But at first hand, if they don't know the market and they only see difficulties and processes and procedures, it will be complex to connect. The second thing is regulations, like for specific industries, like data privacy, for example. When we have a different regulation in the US, a different regulation in Europe, and Latin America is just starting to build something. Maybe it's important for the countries or legislators to understand where there is the opportunity to join forces with the countries, or how to create a space for collaborations if the product is for one market or the other. Because of course, if we are creating very closed or very specific regulations in our countries, we are closing that door for opportunities. And the last thing is maybe creating the culture. It's a cultural and mindset change in terms of IP protection, and working like not trying to work with a US or European company just to learn and then create our company, but really to protect their IP. If we are working with another company, how we can think and play in a fair way. Because I really think that's a concern when an investor or a founder from US or Europe, where the regulations and the rules are so clear around IP, that they want to be sure that the play of the employees, the play of the developers that they are contracting or engaging is the same that they see in their native country.
Great, thank you so much, Rosario. And I would like to move to the question posed to Rainer. I'm just going to repeat it, Rainer, in your experience and given all the discussion that we have had today. How do the different ecosystems connect with each other in terms of business opportunities for startups and for corporates alike?
Okay, thanks. I would like to answer this answer fast. I just would like to add an observation regarding the regulation of business. That in my experience, I see that here in Latin America in general, we can use a lot of information regarding patents and technologies that are developed for other countries. If we notice, a lot of technologies are not used here, are not protected here in Latin America. So we have a lot of information that we can use here. And at the same time, when you go outside, we need to take a little care with the situation regarding the protecting law. So this is a point that I'd like to say that's a golden treasure to bring this knowledge and this information to Latin America. And regarding this answer, Francisco, it's not an easy answer, I think, but when I review the experience that I have in our ecosystem, I perceive I feel that sometimes the moments are not so efficient how they could be. We have good matchmakings that, of course, bring us a lot of good opportunities. Okay, if we compare these connections in ecosystem with the connections in natural process of sales, the connections of these ecosystems are normally better. The decisions, the people are more engaged, and the decisors have more power of decision. So when I bring this context, I think that maybe if we start to build ecosystem that we can segment and focus better in the situation of the context of the startup, maybe we can segment and bring together all the actors that really matters for one startup or for one situation. So my answer is maybe that will be this the way, but yeah, it's just a feeling, an idea about my experience. Okay.
Thank you so much, Rainer, for your answer. I think we've discussed so many great topics. Unfortunately, as we mentioned before, time is not enough when we talk about innovation, when we talk about startups, when we talk about energy, when we talk about new solutions for the challenges, the climate challenges, the energy challenges that we face today as human societies. Well, I don't know if we have any kind of questions from our audience, because I don't see anything in the chat. I don't know if Tahar, do you have anything from questions around there? Otherwise, well, yeah, there's no questions in the chat. So I think we've been clear enough, and we've been great at explaining our topics. And I would like to invite our audience, and I would like to invite also the organizers to keep looking at what Latin America is doing, because we are, as I mentioned before, and this is not a joke, and this is I'm not joking. I'm not trying to deceive you. Latin America is the new beacon, and I'm gonna retake one statement from our panelists. Is the next tech frontier. And Pamela said this: Latin America is the next tech frontier. For energy, yes. For climate change, yes. So let's keep the focus on what Latin America is doing. Let's follow closely what startups in the region are doing, and let's not forget that disruptive innovation is a process, and it is our duty to keep fostering disruptive innovation through this kind of events, through this kind of panels, when we can discuss what we're doing. And with this, I would like to say thank you all for joining us today. Thank you to my great fellow panelists, Pamela, Rainer, Rafael, Rosario. It's been a pleasure, and see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you.
you.
Bye.